I don't remember what the contracts look like for renting the space upstairs, but I'm sure there's extensions on liability for that too. And I don't think it's joint hold harmless. So best interest of the city.
Okay. Michael, any comment, question?
Just the same position that I was the last time we addressed this, is that there shouldn't be any liability on the city's behalf. They're just leasing space from us, and they're the ones running and operating.
We're giving them space.
Yeah.
Leasing it to them for free.
Yeah, we're giving it to them for free.
I mean, I think that the city has taken on a lot of liability on behalf of the school district as of recent, and so they should take on some of their own.
Bonnie? Ditto? Carly, any comments on this one?
I do. For the superintendent to come to our meeting and say that she wants to work together with us, this is a pretty litigious contract. Even refusing to call us the city, it's ridiculous.
Well, I certainly can understand the value added to a program the way it was originally intended, where they're feeding their minds and feeding their stomachs. I think that's a win-win for the future of our society. But as in the role that we're in, protecting the city's interests, I can't really support something that's so one-sided. And I think really under the current circumstances, it's somewhat of a moot discussion right now, because so many schools are doing things so differently that it would only make sense if they have an alternative site now and they can provide the grab and go. Okay, so we feed their stomachs and look at this again fresh next year when this is all behind us. So I think my preference in going back to the specific items that staff is looking for direction on, let me go back to that page where it was. I think, my recommendation would just to go with the grab and go alternative at their alternative school site for the remainder of this school year.
So for future years, would the council prefer to have the commitment to the 2019 contract, so that I don't have to keep bringing forward this every single year in terms of the two alternatives? District says no. Would the council affirm to the 2019 contract and prefer that we use the proposed 2020 contract that we've prepared for year-to-year use moving forward?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And can we get collective,
Do we need a motion on that?
please?
Okay. So the motion is to not have it this year, and to go with the 2020 contract. That was 2019, right? Yes.
So the 2020 contract embodied the 2019 principle.
Correct. There you go. What he said.
The city's version of
The city's version. That's right. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I have, make sure I'm clear on the motion. Did you capture that, Deputy City Clerk?
Yes, Mayor.
Could you read back that motion? Make sure we're all clear.
There was a motion by Krupa, second by Percival, to not have the seamless lunch program at the library this year, and provide direction for the 2020 contract.
Okay.
That's the city's version of the contract.
City's version, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10H,
Mayor?
You recognize me?
Yes.
Secretary Claus.
Yeah, I was just going to say, traditionally, your meetings are supposed to stop at 10 unless you have a motion to carry on
What is
after
it?
10.
Okay. We have,
Plus the housing authority.
yeah. Somebody want to make a motion to extend past, so we can probably wrap it up by 10:30.
Well, if Mike doesn't talk too long. We gotta do the housing one. We gotta get through this. Yes, I'll make a motion to extend past 10.
Wait a second.
Oh, good.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to extend past 10 o'clock.
God.
Councilor
Roll call.
Mayor? Councilor Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. I was not paying close attention to the clock. We need a clock on the back wall that I can see. All right. Item 10H, council discussion regarding Resolution 2106. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last council meeting, Councilmember Percival requested that Resolution 1982-2106 be brought back forward to the council, and the council did provide that direction to bring this back. Just as brief background, Resolution 2106 is a resolution of the City of Hemet permitting the County Health Officer of Riverside County to enforce public health rules, regulations, and orders with the city. An analysis of county public health orders is attached from the City Attorney's Office for reference. And so with that, that's all I have. Mayor.
Okay. Just for the record, opportunity for public comment on this item was available during item 5, council communications from the public. Any council members have comments or questions? I suspect Michael does.
I'll make it quick. I brought this forward because of the public health officers putting out orders that citizens in our city had to wear masks and social distance, which I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's for the public safety. However, when the public health officer should be advising the elected officials who set policy to let them make the policy, and this public health officer basically mandated in his statement that you're subject to arrest or fine, and here we're talking about crime going up, and we're going to have now our police and sheriffs out arresting people for violating the public health officer's order when there's more serious crimes that are still, being happened. So I think that there should be some advisement capacity from the public health officer to this body that ultimately will make that decision as a policy standpoint.
Anyone else?
1982. Perhaps, we need to revisit it just to see if it needs any updating from 1982.
I can share with the city council that the health and safety code section that is cited in your 1982 ordinance, which is, I think it's section 476, no longer exists in the health and safety code. Because it has been repealed and readopted as a new health and safety code section, which has almost exactly the same text. The only difference is that it differs in how it refers to the State Department of Health. In the old version, it said State Department of Health, and the new version just says department because there's another definition. That change was made as part of a very extensive Senate bill in 1995 that took out some of the old health and safety code sections and by and large readapted, renumbered them, put them in a different section, and then added a whole bunch more to it. The impact of this section, you probably haven't even felt it at all since 1982, except for this COVID-19 environment. It just allows the public health official, the county public health official, to enforce rules and orders of the State Department of Health and any health statutes. It doesn't actually give the county officer authority in and of himself to impose his own orders on the city, which I thought was odd.
When you're talking State Department, you mean federal State Department?
No, I mean the State of California's Department of Health. Yes.
Pardon me, I've been from that sector for a while
No,
now.
I should have been more clear. This issue came up because the county ran into issues when it tried to enforce some of the health orders in other jurisdictions within Riverside County, and had an issue getting a temporary restraining order because this particular resolution wasn't in place. So in response to the emails I saw, I said, well, I should check, let's see. Yep, sure enough, we have one that's been in place since 1982. The only really way this would be implicated is if the health officer wanted to enforce either a state provision or, as I take it as being interpreted by county council, any of the county's emergency declarations, such as wearing of the masks and other things. You have the legal ability to rescind this resolution. It is questionable whether or not the county still has, or the county health official would still have authority to enforce health ordinances, statutes, its own orders within the city. There appear to be other statutes in the code, in the health and safety code, that give the county health official that kind of authority. And there's at least an attorney general opinion that says that county health officer can make health orders and they're enforceable. Now, an opinion of the attorney general isn't law. There's no case law on this, so I'm not exactly sure how, if the city of Hemet decided to do something that was contrary to a public health order issued by the county, and the county sued the city, how that would turn out. In the current environment and without evidence of Hemet being different than other places in the county, my sense is that the court would probably defer heavily to the county health officer. In addition, if you were to rescind this resolution, there is now, or has been for quite some time, a provision in state law that requires the city to provide for a local health officer. Generally, it can be done by means of passing this resolution. It's done, there's no other services in there unless you contract for them. But if you were to rescind it, there's kind of a delay in how long, when the rescission takes place, and then the city would need to come back and make provision for its own local health officer. I have looked for what the qualifications of a local health officer are. I have not yet found them. I have looked at a number of other cities' recruitments for the local health officer, and they all kind of fall within a category, so that it must be in a code of regulation that I haven't tracked down yet. More than you asked for, happy to answer any question. Sorry for going on so long this late at night.
Well, I think the question that I had, you answered, and that is, absent us as a general law city incorporating the county health officer as our health officer, we would be legally obliged to provide one.
Yes.
So that would essentially become another financial encumbrance on the city, whether we contracted with somebody to perform that role, or we created a staff position and recruited and filled it. It becomes a financial obligation, whereas if we just incorporate it by ordinance. So I think my recommendation is that at a future council meeting, we bring this back and update and take out the antiquated health and safety code section. And I agree philosophically with my colleague that I don't like being told what to do by somebody that's not an elected representative of the people.
It goes back to the fact that, one, this is, it refers to a health and safety code section that doesn't exist, so what kind of standing would that have in court? And two, is that it goes back to what I said at the last council meeting, there is still this thing called the Constitution that still has to be adhered to, and I believe that's why there's being lawsuits being brought against the state, the county, because of violations of just that.
People are just playing TikTok.
I mean, I took an oath like 7 or 8 times now, and I still refuse to enforce an unlawful order, so.
Yeah, and in deference to us being frugally mindful of our city attorney budget, and I don't necessarily advocate taking on another battle.
Well, I think
There's
we have
other ones out there.
our medical, we still have a medical professional that oversees our fire department. I think that probably person could qualify as said, if our fire chief said, hey, we need advice on this, we could probably review it. Yeah.
So can I request that we, at the very least, update this health and safety code section and bring it back on a future agenda item for a council recommendation?
Just a recommendation.
All you're asking for is discussion on this. Do you want?
I'd like to kind of how we do everything else.
Okay.
Direction.
You made a motion?
Okay. I'll make that a motion then.
I think there needs to be some language in there that in the enforcement mechanism of that has to be applied equally amongst everything, and not pick and choose. Because that's what they're doing. That's what the county did. They picked and choose who they're going to enforce and how they're going to enforce it. It's okay to send 500 people inside Walmart, but it's not okay to go to a church service. Yeah, well.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second that we bring this back with a refreshed health and safety code section and incorporating some of the provisions that Councilman Percival added there. Okay? Roll call vote.
Councilor Meyer?
Yep.
Councilor Percival?
Yes.
Councilor Wright? Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, that motion passes unanimously. Moving on now to item 10I. We've been talking about this all night, but now we're going to get an update.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make this as brief as I can. Obviously, this is on here as a recurring item to provide updates to the council on the latest updates from the City of Hemi and any operational items. On April 6th, I started something with all of our departments and divisions, and I called it Bridge the Gap meetings. And so with this new way of operating where we're all, a lot of us, I'm not telecommuting, but a lot of our employees are. And so I really wanted to have the opportunity in the forum to gather input, hear how everyone's doing, hear about the technological challenges that they're having, if any, and just kind of get a temperature of how everyone's doing. And so I started those on April 6th. I wrapped up my last department. I think it was last non-safety department. I think it was either a week and a half ago or last week. Tomorrow, I believe, I will be rotating through the police department shifts. And so we'll be coordinating those, one at 6 in the morning and one at 6 in the evening, to make sure that I'm hearing from our public safety personnel as well. So we'll be coordinating those moving forward. We're starting our second round of those meetings. I think Brenda sent out those updates, I think, for next week or the week after, so that we continue to keep connected with our employees. On April 8th, as everyone experienced before, all personnel entering public safety facilities had their temperatures taken. On April 16th, Chief Brown collaborated with the Jemez San Jacinto Chamber of Commerce to do a feature in the chamber chats on behalf of the city. On April 20th, Riverside County amended its order allowing community members to participate in non-contact outdoor activities such as running, walking, golf, and tennis. On April 21st, Nurse Melissa Schmidt conducted a training for each division in the city to prepare the team to implement temperature measurement of staff citywide. We initially started with public safety. We've now expanded to all operations across the city. In order to catch any individuals who may be sick and asymptomatic, there were no reported fevers. I know that we've had one individual that happened in the last couple of days that did have a fever. We are having self-monitor and make sure that no other symptoms develop. It could have just been, any random occurrence. On April 22nd, as of that day, we've got more than 50 employees that have begun telecommuting. We continue to provide augmented services and continue to work with the city's businesses to ensure that they are connected to the resources they need. As employees bring concerns or questions to the city manager, they are addressed and adjusted. We continue to share the updates provided by Riverside County and other partners and continue to adjust as needed. We are cautiously watching for any surges in cases or any concentrated pockets of cases that we've seen. There was some information that came out, I think it was yesterday, about a couple of our nursing care facilities that have had an increase in the number of cases within those facilities as it relates to patients as well as some of the staff that's there. In addition to that, we've had conversations with Riverside County city managers for the last month or so. We have a weekly call and we talk about what's happening in our respective cities, what's going on in the region, and one of the hot button issues. The city manager of, I believe it was Temecula, Aaron, we started talking collectively about some of the things that we could help encourage, whether it's our county folks, to encourage the discussions related to reopening, some of the discussions related to what does that look like, and what we can do to assist that process. In addition to that, obviously, as we discussed, there are some severe economic impacts to local cities. The League of California Cities is coordinating the letter that's attached. What my hope is that we have all the council members sign on to that letter. We're looking for every single city in Riverside County to sign on to this, as well as their respective city managers, and really advocate for the needs in our region, which obviously are included in the letter. And so that's what we're asking for tonight, authorization for the council to go ahead and authorize the signature on this letter, and then have me coordinate with the league and getting all that solidified so that we can have a collective message from the Riverside County region. And that's all my update, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And for the record, opportunity for public comment on this item was provided during item 5 earlier this evening. Any questions or comments from council?
Does this need to be on the officer of city manager letterhead, or I thought we had letterhead?
So this was just the form letter. This will be on League of California Cities letterhead, and they will just have our city logo with everybody's signature. So it wouldn't be on our letterhead. It would be on the League of California Cities letterhead. But this was just provided so that the city had a form letter that they could look at.
Well, I certainly appreciate the position that the League of California Cities and Aaron has been doing a fabulous job of keeping us updated daily with activities, and it's really clear that she's in our court in trying to ensure that our best interests are being represented. So if there's no exception or objections from council, okay. You need a motion for that?
Second.
Okay. So, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Meyer? Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. That motion passes unanimously, and for the record, motion was made by Linda Krupa and seconded by Bonnie Wright. Okay. That concludes all of our agenda items. Anybody have a burning report that they feel like they have to give on council reports? Just a brief comment that the Council Protocols Ad Hoc Committee is going to meet this Thursday, and we'll get underway with that project.
And the library received $5,000 grant from the State of California Library for additional Hoopla, so that if you have a library card, you can go on Hoopla and you can read millions of books for free. That's it.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our regular council meeting. We do have,
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. If I could, I know we talked about significant passing that we had, so if I could just share a little bit of information on that employee.
sure,
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose adjourning tonight's meeting, and I know the mayor had actually recommended it, in honor of Charlie Heinz, a member of the Hemet family who recently passed away. Our team was devastated late last week. When we learned of Charlie's passing, I'd like to take a moment tonight and honor his memory. Charlie started working for the city as an equipment mechanic in January of 1998. He dedicated over 20 years to our community and our team, becoming lead equipment mechanic and later the equipment maintenance supervisor for the city of Hemet. I shared with our team one of my and Charlie's last interactions when I spoke to the Public Works team via my Bridge the Gap meetings less than 2 weeks ago. Charlie conveyed that the mechanics team was doing an incredible job keeping our fleet running, which is in fact very true. He then sent me a private message after that discussion, letting me know he was going to follow up with all of our mechanics to ensure that they had everything that they needed to keep the operation going. Charlie was an exemplary leader, selfless, and eager to help out every chance that he had. Our team is truly saddened by the sudden loss, and we would like to extend our deepest condolences to Charlie's family and loved ones and members of our Public Works team as well as other departments that had a chance to know Charlie. I had a chance to speak to his family earlier this week, and it is truly a devastating loss. I'd like to ask the council to adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Charlie to capture the deep loss the Hemet team feels from Charlie's passing. Thank you, Mayor.
and thank you very much for sharing that very brief biography of a truly dedicated city employee. You almost like to think that they broke the mold when they made employees like Charlie. And just for the record, we do have a certificate from the city council in memoriam that we will share with the family. And so with that, we adjourn tonight's meeting.
I have a future agenda item, Russ.
Yes.
I move that we apply for the California Fire Foundation Safe Cards. It doesn't cost the city anything, and we gave $5,000 out from the Alessandro Fire. It's free to our city and to the people that set
Safe cards.
fires. Yeah, so God knows we'll need them.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, it's 10:30.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Good suggestion, Carly. Okay, with that, we adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Charlie and extend our gratitude and love for the memories and legacy that Charlie leaves for the city of Hemet. Our next council meeting will be on May 12th, 2020. Thank you. And we have Housing Authority.
I'd like to bring the regular meeting of the Housing Authority to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Board Member Brown?
Here.
Board Member Krupa?
Here.
Board Member Meyer? Vice Chair Wright?
What?
Vice Chair.
Oh, yes, here.
Chairperson Bristol?
Here. Number 2, communications from the public. Welcome to the meeting of the Hemet Public Housing Authority. Anyone who wishes to speak during the public comment on a particular item will be required to fill out a speaker slip. Speaker slips must be turned into the authority secretary. There will be I'm going to limit it to 2 minutes for all comments, including public or quasi-judicial hearings. Written comments on any item should have been submitted to the authority secretary to be included in the meeting record. However, they will not be read aloud. In this case, we will make that exception. and members of the public shall comply with the adopted rules of decorum. Okay. Consent calendar, can I get a motion to approve? Second. Can I get a vote?
Board Member Brown?
Yes.
Board Member Krupa?
Yes.
Board Member Meyer?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright?
Yes.
Chair Percival?
Yes. Item 4A is a discussion item, a resolution approving an amendment to the policy regarding loan repayment and release of affordability covenants for certain down payment assistance loan made by the authority. City Manager.
Thank you, Chair. You'll recall that the council did take this item up. The council provided direction to the city attorney to adjust the agreement and make some changes. The staff does stick by its original recommendation that it provided at the previous council meeting when we discussed this, but the change policy is attached in your agenda backup for consideration and approval.
Is there any discussion?
Just a question, bottom line, the people that were affected by this, that were at that meeting, are they, I mean, do they have to pay anything, or, I mean, if they're selling their house, does this release the liability of them having to pay us back more than, the city back, more than what they borrowed from the city?
If you adopt the resolution, the resolution that we provided to you comes up with a very simple, universally applied solution, which is if you pay off the note, your affordability covenants go away. No equity sharing, no 5-year, 10-year, 50-year time limit. If we, and I know staff has a different recommendation. Staff would like to use the HUD version where it's depending on how much the loan was, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be longer. And they've recommended an equity sharing provision. All legitimate things to do if we were going to continue to operate a housing authority and do affordable housing with some robustness. I don't think you are. The money that we would get from these loans would come back in. There are some people who have already paid off the loans. Based on based on the city's records, you issued down payment assistance loans with redevelopment funds between $22,000 and $30,000. So on the HUD schedule, that would require at least 10 years. The Maltbys who originally came in don't meet the 10-year threshold. So if you adopt the policy that staff recommends, Maltbys have to stay in their home for another 2 years, I think. Could be 3. Don't quote me on that. If you adopt the resolution we've submitted, this goes away. Anybody who got credit, anybody who's already paid off their loan, we will send them a reconveyance. Anybody who pays off their loan through a subsequent transaction, we'll send them a reconveyance. The money that we receive will go into a fund to be used for other down payment assistance or other types of things.
Thank you.
We can modify the policy however you like if that's not what we want.
That was kind of the intent, wasn't it? I mean, repay the loan, but don't get penalized for having borrowed the money.
Exactly.
Right.
It's crazy.
And this meets the legal mustard.
I think that given the small amount of money, the fact that it's just redevelopment money, we're going to be relatively safe. If you want to be perfectly safe, then you're going to stick with the 45-year covenants.
And this only affects 13 properties.
So I failed to mention, and this is my fault, that Tiffany, our accounting manager, is off-site at City Hall, and so she is available to answer any specific questions or provide additional information with respect to this item if the council, or if the body would like.
And was there any public comment that came in on this one?
Yes, Chair, first of all, there was one public comment submitted electronically by Sharon Maltby. It says, James and I have read the resolution and it looks great. So first of all, thank you to all the council members. Our only question was, what is the penalty if we close before December 2nd, 2020? If we have to wait until December, it is something that we are willing to do. I'm very grateful that the other 13 families will not be affected like us. Most of them should already be at their 10-year mark. End of comment.
So if we pass the resolution tonight, when does it become effective? For the moment?
It becomes effective as soon as the chair signs it, which could be tonight or tomorrow. And,
I'm ready.
and they can move forward and close.
Okay? Need a motion? I move that we go with the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Brown?
Yes.
Board Member Krupa?
Yes.
Board Member Meyer?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright?
Yes.
Chair Percival?
Yes.
Oh, my God. And you don't even live in their houses for 45 years.
Is there any, moving on to item number 5, are there any future agenda items? Seeing none, we can adjourn.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.